Greetings, YouTube. I was born in 1964, and even from the smallest age I can remember, I was a science geek. So you can imagine how thrilled I was with the heyday of NASA occurring during my life. I can remember standing in my yard looking at the sky and actually getting to see one of the orbiters go by. The thrill of actually being alive during the moon landing, and yes, I do remember it, was something I'll never forget. So I've always been rather distraught when people have come out of the woodwork to say that the moon landing was a hoax. I tried to wrap my head around why they think this, how they think this. Because even if the United States was functioning in complete isolation, as in there was no other country on the planet, what we gained from the space program would be ample evidence alone that we actually pulled it off. To achieve what we did, the technological leaps and the edges that we've accumulated because of that research would have entailed a hoax larger than the actual process of going to the moon and putting a man there, which of course isn't going to happen. The United States government has shown time and again its inability to keep anything a secret. Anything. We know about the personal lives, the sex lives, and every guffaw that the U.S. government has ever committed in the last 100 years. Most of them were leaked by people that were directly involved. But the United States doesn't function in a complete vacuum. There are many other countries on this planet, and our biggest rival during the space era was the Russians, who watched us with a microscope, and anything we had tried to pull would have been picked up by them and broadcast for everyone on the entire planet and the moon to hear. If we could be shown by the Soviets to have the inability to do what we said we could do, then, they'd point that out. So the moon hoax would have been blown by the Soviets a long time ago, because it would have been useful to them as propaganda. And anyone who is a science geek knows that we recently had a probe go by the moon, orbital the moon, and that took some really cool high-resolution pictures of the actual moon landing sites themselves. You could actually see the shadows of some of the equipment that's still there, which is really cool. Those kind of pictures are hard to make, and it's nice to know that we have the technology to pull that off. Of course, we've also had the technology for years now to have a permanent moon base, an orbital station in L5, and probably a Mars base by now if we actually wanted it. Sadly, we haven't. But the moon hoaxers are just amazing. Now, some of you may be aware that at one point, one of them verbally assaulted Buzz Aldrin, who promptly punched him in the face. Well, that particular individual freaked out this past weekend because he could not get the parking space he wanted. So he got out of his car and began to jump up and down on the hood of the vehicle that was in the parking space he thought he was entitled to. Kind of showing the world that maybe he's not the most well-hinged individual. That if he's just a really entitled yuppie, who knows. But the moon hoaxers have always amazed me. We pulled it off. And we as a species should be proud of that fact. And we will return, and we will continue to go on into the universe. We are all space travelers. I know it's hard for some people to imagine that, but this planet is in space. We are revolving around our sun. Our sun is moving through through our galaxy. We are traveling through space as we speak. We always have. We always will. And in the future, some of us lucky ones will get to leave our little rock and go out and see all those other stars.